Okay. Hi guys, welcome back to another weekly analysis here at TrinFx. So I do apologize, and firstly, I want to apologize to you guys, those of you that would have been waiting for the streams, the London session streams last week. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I was a little bit preoccupied. I have some stuff going on personally as well that prevented me from being able to get up at that time to facilitate those London live sessions. But this week coming up here, we should be good. Everything should be going back to as normal, and hopefully we get some movements. All right. I wasn't too surprised too at this week really as well, because the markets have been kind of ranging, and this month of August has been one of the hardest trading months ever. Just a lot of market ranging and really range bound price action. So really not much going on in terms of if you're a technical trader. And I would say this is more so of a fundamental trader's haven, right? Where we would have catalysts to really facilitate those movements that we won't want to see for swing traders and intraday traders like myself. So with that being said, thank you guys for joining back here onto this video, looking at the week coming up. And as you know, what I like to do is take a fresh start and look at the fundamentals that we do have coming up for this week. Okay, so we're just gonna go over that pretty quick here. So for Monday, not much really. We just have the MyFX book sentiment for each of these major currency pairs. The real starting comes here at Tuesday, right? So at Tuesday we do have CHF balance of trade. This is something that I think we should be paying attention to. We have some USD news as well for existing home sales. Not really market moving, so to speak. It really depends on what we do get. So if these numbers do come out higher than we expected, right? But you can see here the consensus is a little bit lower than the previous for the existing home sales of July, and taking a look at existing home sales month-to-month comparison here. We are actually looking to see a slight increase, but still in negative overall. Alright, so not really much of a market mover there for the USD. We have retail sales for the NZD coming up as well, looking to see a slight increase, right? So from negative 4.1, looking to see an increase to 0.9, negative 0.9. And looking at the quarter, for the second quarter here, we are actually looking to see an increase here as well. So for the NZD, looking to see some relatively good news, and we'll see how that translates on the charts. Again, we would have one scenario for the fundamental side of things, looking here at the MyFX book calendar. But how does that translate on the charts technically with price action, the current price action we have, and what we could expect, in terms of the best possible areas to get into a trade using those fundamentals to our advantage. All right. So that's something we have to take a look on the charts. We have Judo Bank Services PMI for the AUD, so something also we need to pay attention to, but not too much, right? And I really don't think I'm diving into anything other than AUD sells. As of right now, the AUD and the risk assets on a whole have been pretty bearish, right? Risk sentiment is in the off tone, and that is why we're seeing so much downward movement on the AUD and the NZD. So I'm not really expecting much in terms of bullish movement from that. If anything, possibly we'll just get retracements for a continuation moving lower. All right, take a look at Wednesday card retail sales. So we have retail sales for the cards, something to pay attention to. We're going to see a little bit of a drop, right? So maybe this might be another point where we get some deviation between the card and the US dollar. As you know, the US dollar has been moving in tandem with Canadian dollar. Really strong correlation between the two. All right, so as the DXY rises, and as you would know, for you guys that are seasoned traders, those of you who are new and may not know, the DXY is a representation of USD currency strength. So as the DXY does increase, so you would see an increase on the US dollar. All right, if you take a look at something like AUD USD, for example, you would see that the AUD USD chart is going to the downside in favor of the dollar rather than the AUD. So this is something that we should pay attention to. We may see some deviation at some point, especially coming up to the month of September, when we have some more interest rate decisions to look out for. Okay, we also have S&P Global Services PMI, looking to see things remain relatively the same. Right, so not much there. We also have some more USD news here. The Jackson Hole Symposium, right? So this is something to pay attention to as well. This is a pretty high impactful news event here. And I think do they denote what it is? No, so they're not denoting what it is here, what the Jackson Hole Symposium is. And I'll link it somewhere here, right, as brief description of what it is. All right. We also have on Thursday more USD news, so pretty heavy USD week. As you can see here, initial jobless claims, looking to see a little rise in that. Continuous jobless claims, are you looking to see a fall in that? So really a sort of some sort of deviation here between the two numbers, right? Usually these numbers would match, but it looks like we have some sort of deviation, right? So this is the 12th of August, looking at and 19th here. Also, we have the Jackson Hole Symposium again, and on Friday, Fed Powell is speaking on Friday. We're going to see that symposium continuation, and we have the ECB speech as well. So you have these two major news events coming out on Friday that you need to pay attention to: Fed Powell speaking and the ECB representative Laraj, right, speaking as well. All right, so that's all that we have for news. As you can see, really more so impactful for the US dollar more than anything. So that is something that we need to pay attention to and be aware of. Usually a lot of USD news can correlate and trickle into different markets. As it is August still continuing on here, I'm not expecting much. I'm expecting brief spikes in the USD on the US strength. So brief movements, say downside, upside on any of those USD currency pairs. And usually we're just going to be maintaining this range bound situation, right? So take a look first at the DXY, and I'm not going to cycle through all these pairs, but just a few pairs I want to pay attention to. All right, and those are the ones related with the news as well. So the DXY, as you can see here, mostly range bound. All right, so from here, and this would have been August Friday the 11th, right? We saw that price started going up here on the DXY, right? And this is just the USD trend, and we saw that price trend peaked up. We had multiple times we have price peaked. This being one here, this being another here, and this being another here. Now we can see multiple times price has peaked above this resistance zone, but immediately come back down. All right, so we keep ranging in this sort of scenario. If you take a look at the 4 hour, you can see this mess, right? Price just being range bound right here. All right, now one of the reasons for this we could say is because of the low volume volatility, right? So there's not much volume in the market, so that means not much movement to be made in terms of, all right, a breakout to the upside being maintained by the US dollar. Not really much volume to see a continuation of that move. All right, so that being said, we have been range bound, moving back and forth between these two areas, cycling between that and just, you know, in that particular zone. And we saw that being correlated and related to the other USD major pairs, right, such as AUD USD. We had the same thing happening at that point of time, but you can see on the AUD USD chart here, prices more so going to the downside. Looking at the overall trend from the 4 hour, you can see that strong downtrend bearish movement. All right, so taking a look at this, and this is the first pair that I want to take a look at. You know, when you do have a strong trend, you want to stick with the trend. You don't want to, you know, break out of the trend and look and say, all right, this is the end of the move. No, unless you see something definitive that shows you that this is going to be the end of the move, at that point, look for those reversal setups. All right, but in a case like this, we have a very strong downtrend movement. So with that being said, you shouldn't be looking for anything other than sells. Any sort of pullbacks that you do get on this is a pullback for a sell continuation. And with new traders, I can't stress this enough. Do not try to buy a downward moving market. All right, a lot of times, especially if you're new to trading, what you will get is people issuing and telling you, all right, you buy the bottom, you sell the top, you buy at the bottom, you sell at the high. All right, and that's not the case. That is the wrong way to approach trading. Okay, So firstly, one of the things I want to note, this is a very strong downward movement trend. Now we have two areas that I think is the most important that you need to pay attention to, as well as we do have some news coming up that may affect this, and that is the Bank Judo PMI information that we do have coming out for the AUD, right? So we have the Judo Services PMI coming out for the AUD, and this can affect price. All right, whether it's bearish or bullish, we won't know until the news do come out. But we can say for certainty, or with at least some certainty, that all right, we're looking at a downtrend here. So we identify what the trend is. Areas of interest, we want to see price push into this zone here of support, right? The last major support made by price before it started doing all that range bound nonsense here because of the USD currency strength. So if we do get a push into that level, more than likely we're going to see a continuation with our movement down. All right, again, this is a very strong downward market. So taking that into consideration, we're looking for sell opportunities. One opportunity is if price manages to reapproach this level, a break to the downside, looking for a continuation into these lows here. All right, I'm just going to go to the 4 hours so you can see that these are the lows here that we are targeting price to potentially reach into. Okay, so this is one area of interest where you want to get into this sell opportunity. Another one here is if price manages to do some sort of retracement. I do think at that point, if we do get a retracement even higher, this is the level you need to pay attention to right here. Right, within the downtrend that we do have currently, this is another level that you need to pay attention to for price to potentially reach into and seeing that that downward movement continuing. All right, because as you can see, this is a point of interest. Beforehand, we did have price approaching this level, rejected, and then we reapproached that level and we got that break, right? So we had this bearish candle form, then we had this bullish candle trying to engulf that, failed to do so, right? So after that, we saw that bearish continuation, signaling more sellers are in this market, right? Continuation to the downside seems more likely. Price came into here, then we pulled back up into that zone, push back, and now we're at this current situation here. So if price does manage to pull up, this is the point of interest to look for those continuation sells. If price pushes down, at this point we're looking for sells to continue even lower. So this is the first trade idea setup that I am looking at for either one of those two things to happen, right? Whether price pushes into here, I'm keen on selling. There's no reason to enter any buy situations on this, guys. And I'm telling you this is a trade setup we're going to take in the VIP. It's a trade setup I'm going to send in the free as well in the Discord. So yeah, this is one of the things that you just want to look at. In terms of fundamentals, it's reasonable enough. In terms of a technical aspect, also reasonable, right? Two reasonable things lining up together. Take a reasonable trade. Don't try to buy the sell. All right, don't try to buy any downtrend. Come on, use your brain. All right, so the first thing that we're taking a look at here, this is potential trade setup that I do want to get involved in, or that I'll be looking at, right? So that's that, and I'm gonna put my alerts here. All right, so I don't want to trade the range bound movement here, but I want to look at these specific key areas where price reaches into for those potential movements. All right, 80 CHF, right? So I have AUD CHF. I did take a trade on AUD CHF, and as you can see, the AUD itself is very bearish in tone. All right, so taking a look at some of the market movements that we do have and trade setups that I do want to get involved in, I would say AUD CHF is more on the ranks higher on the possible better yielding trade setups that we can get. So AUD CHF here, right? One key thing we could take note at, price has pulled back into the significant zone to the upside, so this resistance area, for a possible continuation moving down. Now, again, we don't have any reason to say that price is going to start moving bullishly from here, or that price should break all the way to the upside here. Now, we may get a break, all right? And that is, we need to be aware of these certain situations, right? So there is a possibility that we may get a break, but is that break going to be a continuation to the upside? No, more than likely, it's not going to be. So you might get a higher move to the upside, quickly followed by a downward move or continuation lower back into this supportive zone within this very strong downtrend. All right. So this is one thing that I'm also looking potentially to see. I may get involved in this early. This might be one of the trades that I get involved early. Sometimes I like to take a trade during like maybe an hour after the market opens. All right, so around 5:30, 7 Eastern, right? It looks like a possible trade setup to complete this zone that we do have, right? This sort of consolidation, right? So this is one thing that I'm looking at to potentially see happen, and I'm marking this out as a possible trade setup. AD card, not really the best of movements. As you can see, it is the same thing as the US dollar. So that's that correlation with the USD strength. It just cycle between back and forth. All right. In terms of the movement itself, I wouldn't want to get involved in this, right? So one of the things that you want to do is get involved in high profitable trade setups. And one of the things that you should look at as well is the price action. If the price action itself is agreeable with whatever your strategy is that you're going to implement. And I'm somebody that likes to use relatively tight stops, right? Depending on the currency, the cross pair that I am trading. That is why it's relative to each cross pair. With that being said, something like 80 CHF, my stop would be something like maybe right about here, right? So not that far, resulting in like a 1-to-3 or 1-to-4 risk to reward ratio for this particular setup. And that's something that I do, and it works well for me in terms of me implementing it and everything. So you want to make sure that the price action that you are seeing is agreeable with your trading setup, whatever the plan is for you. All right. So that's two things that we're taking a look at: 80 CHF, 80 USD. I'm more keenly going to get involved in the 80 CHF because 80 USD could either do one or two things, right? CHF looks a little bit more clearer. CAD CHF, no, I'm not gonna take a look at that because again, USD strength is one thing that we need to pay attention to. So this could cause price to move either way. Price might pull back up a little bit, even though market sentiment leaning into being more so on the safe haven side of things, investing in the Japanese yen, the Swiss franc. But looking at CAD CHF, because of the correlation between the fundamentals of both, it's messier to get involved in that. All right, so you want to have clear, definitive fundamentals for whatever currencies that you are pairing up with each other. All right, let's take a look. GBP. So the pound is something that I'm very keen on getting involved in. GBP 80 and possibly GBP CHF, right? So taking a look at GBP 80, first, I do think we could see some continuations to the upside. Now, this is my thought process on this. Looking here at the daily, all right, we can see that this is a very strong, very strong bullish movement to the upside, right? Very strong bullish chart that we are seeing. Right, for the 4-hour, we see that price was consolidating right here. Right, so there's consolidation right here, or squeeze, as some people may call it. And here at the 1 hour, we can see that a little bit more clear. So what I'm expecting is a possible pull back into this zone, right? And a continuation move upwards. So for me, what I want to see first is a possible pull right here, and then price continue moving upwards. Or if we're to continue moving upwards without getting that, see price push above this area here, above this zone. So this is one key area that I want to see price actually push and surpass for a continuation move to the upside, right? So something like that, boom. And this is the sort of continuation movement that I'm expecting to see, right? So this is one of the trade setups I'll also take a look at potentially. And let's see, cycling through the others. NZD, same thing, right? So risk assets, risk tone is off. More so on the softer side. You can take a look at GBP USD, really not the best movement at all, just price consolidating. For hourly, you can see this range just not attractive at all. Right, so take that off. The indices stuff, right? So indices, I do want to buy these scenarios, right? And this is off of a weaker dollar, right? So this would be off of a weaker dollar sort of setup. And a scenario like this, especially since I'm aware of the fundamentals, and fundamentals do play apart in my trading itself, this will be one of the reasons, or one of the indications as to why I should sell or why I should buy the US dollar, right? So as you can see here on the indices here, looking at NAS 100, price actually been moving to the downside here, right? So in favor of the US dollar. However, let's take a look from the daily. Technically, we have price reapproaching into these zones here, right? So this is from the daily time frame perspective. Look at the 4-hourly. We can see that price reached into this zone, right? Then we had this 4-hour candle pushing above, and then this next 4-hour candle here, looking at the ending of that day, we kind of rejected here, but we can see that price was pushing above or away from this zone. So basically, you could say price made a bounce, right, within the overall trend or market movement, right? So this is the possibility that I'm seeing here from a technical aspect. From a fundamental aspect, I would say the US dollar does have more room to see some more weakness, especially looking at the fundamentals that we do have in terms of the jobless claims numbers. And we also have the Jackson Hole Symposium, to also pay attention to, and Fed Power speech, right? So we have a lot of different USD factors to really keep in mind, and that would affect our trading profitability on something more USD focused, such as the indices. For me, technically, what I would like to see is a push above this zone, right? Just a bullish close. Doesn't have to be a full bullish candle close. Could be 30 minutes into the candle close itself. More than likely, that will continue. That will signal a continuation to see price move actually higher, right? So this right here will be my next target area for something like NAS 100, right? I don't particularly trade indices like that, but this does look like one of the more lovely, easier setups to get involved into. All right, and that's it. In terms of everything else, USD focused, just ranging. For gold has been falling pretty strongly here, so we'll have to wait and see exactly what happens in this coming week. Maybe we might get buying opportunities. Maybe gold might continue selling. All right, and then NZD, just same thing. Risk off tones, looking to see price continue moving downwards. In terms of NCD and AUD does give a little bit more cleaner price action than the NCD currently. That's why I'm more like biased to trade in the AUD. All right, and this is the thing for me, guys. All right, this week has been very profitable despite the markets being total shit, and I'm just being plain and simple. So just to give you guys a quick view of the starting of last week, right, from August 13th to the 18th. Within this is the free Discord group. This is the Discord community group, to be more exact, and this is the free setup area, right, where I'll post my trade setups and trades I'm getting into. I'll send the chart, the levels I'm looking at, and sometimes I'll post or I'll say like what the analysis is behind the trade itself. All right, so this is just in the free group, and in the free group we did pretty well. So this was one of the first wins here. You can see price actually moved bullishly right here. So that was one of the first wins. CAD CHF was looking for a likely continuation. We got that continuation here. We closed off in profits. GBP JPY, same thing, buying at this area right here. So TP, stop loss, everything, right? So price moved up. We actually got that move to 1 to 3 right there as well. So already the free group had made 5%. All right. And then we had the GJ sell opportunity, right? This was a sell right here. Was looking for price to sell down. Price did actually sell down from that area. And in these couple of voice notes I did send as to the reasoning behind that and why that was a trade opportunity that I did take. GPCHF, this was looking for a continuation, but we quickly closed this at break even because the sentiment had shifted. And actually, I think I displayed that. I don't know if I displayed that here, but if it was in the Telegram group, I did display as to what happened after we already took, we took the L at the break even area, right? VIP was just doing it for the morning. You can see here, this was when you traded GPCHF. We entered, price pushed up, was a nice 1 to 3. It actually went all the way to being a 1 to 5 too. All right. So yeah, and this is just the free. So you can imagine what the VIP was. VIP just been doing numbers over and over consistently, weekly, every week, and for the month, the return's just ridiculous. I've stopped counting. All right, and this is not typical results. For a lot of you that may be watching this, I'm not trying to get you guys like buying into anything. I'm just being straight up with you guys as to what it is and just how the performance is overall. And I want to be upfront with the fact that this is not typical results. This isn't something that you see from your average trader, or something that you could average, like consistently make as a newbie or even an intermediate trader. It's not something that is normal in terms to see. All right. And I'm not trying to boost myself, my ego, anything like that. I'm just being straight up with you guys and honest that just is what it is. I do take my L's here and there, but usually the wins do outweigh the losses by quite a margin. All right. So this is all I'm looking at. And in terms of the price action itself, it's very rangy. So there's not much to really focus on in terms of good trading scenarios. Maybe if you're a scalper, this might be, your sort of thing. But for me personally, it's just where I have to display a little bit more patience than others, right? And this is just how the month of August usually is. Last year, it was quite different because we did have COVID, all these other things, all these other factors affecting price action. So it was very volatile during that COVID period and even during the recovery, the initial of the recovery. But this year, things are starting to be a little bit more calm. The economies are getting back to, the way they was previously. And yeah, this is just how it is usually on August. September is around the corner, expecting more volatility as people do go back out to work, have more, more volatility, more volume flowing in the markets. So we should be good there. All right. So that's it for now, guys. These are all that I'm watching for now. As the week does continue, things will change. More setups may arise. Maybe they mightn't. And in terms of what I'm expecting to do, a 5% average, right? Usually my goal for the week is averaging around 5% per week, and that will total to 20% a month. And over the course of a year, that's over 240% in terms of returns, which is phenomenal for anybody that gets into trading. All right, guys. So that's it for now. I do appreciate your patronage. If you found this video to your liking, leave a like, subscribe if you're not already subscribed for future updates, as well as leave a comment. What are you watching? What pair are you watching? What's your take on gold? Is it going to move up? Are you expecting USD to gain more strength? Like, what it is that's going through your mind when you do look at the charts, whether it's from here or your own personal analysis. Let me know. It's really good to share ideas and get different perspective, as it will help you build yourself as a trader and widen your horizons as to how to analyze things. All right, guys. So thank you very much. Do enjoy the rest of the weekend, and I do hope everybody have a great trading. Peace.